Hey folks, my name's Ed Trevors. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Go away. Last week, maybe week before, I did a video about a pastor who'd come forward to say that climate change is indeed a human thing. We've done it. We are contributors to climate change. Now, he goes on to say that it's a matter of sin, that for us to help make positive changes and to help the world, that we need to let go of our sin. And in that video, I agreed with him. And you can watch that video if you want to know more about the details. I'm not going to get into that here. But a couple of the comments that came back from that video, and I've heard these comments come from time to time whenever I've offered a video where I sort of applaud or praise somebody or encourage somebody who's changed their mind, who's begun to walk in a different direction, who's said something that is counter to the things that they normally say. And those comments, those emails will often say something along the lines of, why? Like, why do you praise them? These people have given their rhetoric, they've said their stuff, they've offered their spiel for years and years and years and years and years, and they now all of a sudden they want to change direction. It's too late. Why would you praise them? Why would you encourage them? Why would you hold them up and say thank you? They should have done this a long time ago. They should have known better. Well, I want to answer that question because it's a brilliant question. It's a wonderful thing to ask. I'm a believer in redemption. I'm a believer that no matter what somebody has done, there is always a chance, maybe just the itziest, bitsiest chance, that they'll turn it around, that they'll become the person that God wants them to become, that they'll change directions, that they'll stop doing the things that they have been doing, and they'll start offering themselves in more healthy, more positive, more uplifting, more growth-oriented ways. There's always the chance that they'll see things our way, my way, the way I think God wants us to see them. Now, in my life outside of the church, I've coached basketball. I coach youth basketball, and I've done it for about 30 years. Everywhere from 5-year-olds to 20-year-olds, and anything in between. I've coached volleyball at the high school level. I also am a parent. And as a parent, I've raised my children along a particular philosophy/principle. I've spent time working with families and helping them develop better communication and helping them when maybe they have a child that is acting in ways that they don't want to see them act. And if you're interested, there's a great book out there called The Defiant Child. It's not about defiant children, it's about parenting children. It's a wonderful book. It's really helped me as a parent. And for what it's worth, that book and the things that they advocate in that book are exactly why I praise those pastors, why I praise those leaders, why I praise those pundits, why I praise those personalities. When somebody does the right thing, regardless of how many times they've done the wrong thing, when somebody says the right thing, regardless of how many times they've said the wrong thing, praise them. Praise them. You see, those people, they say the things they've always said because they've had particular teachers in their life. They've had particular mentors in their life. They've had people in their life that they'd looked up to. They've been parts of organizations that would have encouraged them to speak like this. They are trained, they are conditioned to say the things that they have been saying. This is how they've been taught. This is how they've been raised. Saying those things, acting in those ways is exactly how they have been formed, how they've been molded. These are the things that they're supposed to say and do. When someone steps outside of those patterns, when somebody steps outside of that methodology, steps outside of that theology, steps outside of those philosophies, those ideologies, those politics, those ways of seeing the world, our voices praising them may be the only voices of reward that they hear. Because that group that they just stepped away from, they're going to attack. They're going to tell them they're wrong. They're going to tell them they're crazy. They're going to tell them they're evil. They're going to tell them they're vile. They're going to tell them that they need to turn around and come right back over to home base where it's nice and safe. But if you and I are willing to praise them, if you and I are willing to encourage them, if you and I are willing to say thank you, despite the fact that we've never, ever had anything to thank them for in the past, they might stay longer on this side. They might offer another word that you and I would appreciate. They might do things that you and I might appreciate. They may step even further away from the mold that they were shoved into. They might step even further away from the life that they were trained to lead. Whatever they've done in the past, as hard as it may be, we can encourage them to keep moving in the directions that we see to be helpful, that we see to be loving, that we see to be compassionate. We can help them to continue moving in those directions if we offer our voices of praise to reward them. See, these people, they've developed a following. They've developed a huge following. In those spheres that they normally travel in, they are listened to, they are seen as authorities. Praising them keeps them moving in this direction. Thanking them keeps them moving in this direction. As they keep moving in this direction, their supporters, their subscribers, the people who see the world the same way that those folks do, they too will begin gravitating in this direction. And for what it's worth, we should meet them, arms open wide, welcoming them, inviting them to come further. The Lord bless you, the Lord keep you, and the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence, and I pray, as difficult as it is, that you and I would be willing to say good work to people when they do good work, regardless of the work they did before. That you and I would be willing to offer our appreciation and our praise when people do the right thing, regardless of how often they've done what we might consider to be the wrong thing. That we would be willing to be inviting and welcoming when people take a step in our direction, to go down the paths with us, even if it's for a little while, that we are walking. Amen. Numultus.